Maius Intra Qua Extra. Josh, do you remember what that means in Latin?
Nope, I didn't even think to look it up.
Okay, I'm going to do that now, and I'm going to leave you to explain what happens in this chapter.
Right, okay. So, starts off with Mr. Smith going to see the headmaster.
Yes.
So the headmaster is introduced as George Rocastle, MBE. So they have a discussion about Mr. Smith and being a bit quirky. Well, that's not the exact words that were used, but it's kind of what you infer from it.
Yes, he's a bit quirky with his ideas. His ideas are maybe a bit progressive for the era he's in. I have looked it up. Maius Intra Qua Extra means what is inside is greater than what is outside.
So anyway, we're introduced to Joan Redfern, who walks in and asks about using the headmaster's phone to call someone because they're ailing.
Yeah, Joan Redfern is the matron of the school. Yeah. Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, good. It seemed like you might have cut out there for a second. Yeah, Josh, can you hear me still?
No, my sound keeps cutting out, and I can hear Chris fine when he talks, but sometimes you just cut out mid-sentence.
No, that's concerning. My internet's fine. Is it something to do with your internet, do you think?
It might be my end. I'll have a look after, because I can't check it now.
To be fair, I've been experiencing similar issues.
Also with also with me.
Yep.
Oh, that's concerning. But anyway, let's get back.
Anyway, we'll carry on. So, yeah, they have a discussion. Then when John Smith finishes the conversation with the headmaster, he offers to walk Joan to the gate.
Yep.
So we learn that John writes stories about magical things.
Hmm.
It's not really described what the magical things are at the moment, but
this gets quite interesting.
So, Chris, do you want to talk about this?
That's his stories.
Well,
I'll loop back to it when it comes up in the chapter because it's a little bit later.
Okay. Yeah. So, and then they discuss Timothy and finding him a bit strange.
Yeah. He's also a bit strange.
So, yeah, Chris, if you want to discuss the stories.
Yeah, he's writing stories of the man and the police box.
Yeah.
So at the time, he seems to be living as human as he can, but he seems to have these sort of strange dreams and stories about a man in a police box, and with the idea that he's this old man was this great inventor that kind of created the TARDIS. Well, obviously not described as the TARDIS, but sort of this incredible police box that can travel through time and space. And then this lone man, kind of, because he was so lonely, he wanted to tell someone about it. So conveniently, he used his box to go exploring and found another world called Gallifrey, where he found a tribe of very primitive people, as the book describes. But given what we know now about the true origins of the Doctor, as expressed last week, it's very interesting to draw similarities here between kind of the real version of events with this timeless child that was discovered and then led to the Gallifreyans understanding time travel and creating their TARDIS.
So, sorry, my mic is picking up interference a bit. I don't know what it is.
Anyway, Yeah, no, Joe, you can say what you wanted to say.
Anyway, yes, these stories of a human inventor inventing what is ostensibly the TARDIS is that actually this chapter that happens in and is described in?
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. But it's where it starts. This is the old man in the police box, and it's very interesting that kind of real world. Well, that the stories of ostensibly the Doctor are coming through to John Smith. Like, what is his connection to that? I wonder. Yeah.
But I think that was most interesting here was that the number of similarities with the more modern revelations regarding the Doctor of the Timeless Child.
Yeah, of course.
Given that before the Doctor went.
Go ahead.
Before the Doctor went to Gallifrey, they were considered a very primitive sort of people, and then it was sort of the introduction of the Doctor and the discovery of time travel that sort of then spurred that.
Yeah, kind of the idea of the Doctor as an outside source who ends up in Gallifrey is one that would be revisited for the Timeless Child arc, and it kind of highlights the, of course, the reason this book is here in the timeline for this project is because this ties back to the idea of the other, and of course the idea of the other is very similar to the idea of the Timeless Child. So that's why.
And really, the idea of Doctor Who from the movies, the fact that he was a human inventor who invented TARDIS.
Yes, that too. That's why that was folded in with the whole the other story. In fact, this is the book that ties that in and ties that all together, really. Yeah.
Yeah. So sort of the Green Eye has, like, this is going into a different era, but Green Eye and Hoff have tracked down Benny and are basically looking at her through binoculars.
Yeah, a bit creepy.
Yeah. And so Green Eye stops Hoff from going after to kidnap her, and they sort of want to watch her for a while and see whether she'll reveal the secrets. We're not sure what they wanted to reveal, but they wanted to reveal something.
I believe it's the location of a Time Lord.
Right.
I think that's talked about in this chapter. Otherwise, I've given away the game. But yeah. Anything else happen in this chapter?
No, that's the end of the chapter.
Right. I wish I could have the book open next to me. That would make this easier. Oh well, I can't because of my setup. But overall thoughts on chapter 2 and rating out of 10.
So it advances the story.
It does.
Yeah. It doesn't it's not really a filler chapter, which is good. It introduces you to a new character who'll become important later on.
Yes, Joan.
Yeah. And it provides a bit more background to what Benny's doing there. Obviously, not much, but it sort of shows her there doing stuff, and that shows that she's important to the story.
Yes.
So, yeah, I'd give it probably a 7 out of 10.
Cool. Christopher?
Yeah. I mean, there's quite a lot. I quite like the sort of way they've interleaved it with his stories and like the writings and stuff. I mean, it is mostly sort of just conversations. I guess it does introduce Joan, who does become quite important.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess solid 6. Again.
Yeah. I'm going to quickly talk about how the television episode adapted some of the plot points of this chapter. Of course, the televised episode also does contain Joan Redfern as a kind of love interest for John Smith. And the televised episode does also have the plot point of John Smith writing these crazy stories about someone in a police box. So those are moved over to the televised episode. Of course, I can't really rate this based on an adaptation of this, but I think it introduces Joan quite well and introduces the relationship between Joan and John Smith quite well. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. And that moves us to the third main chapter of Human Nature,